Hi there, this is Katherine Gibson, Star Director for Team Faith Trust and Purple Pixie Dust. Something that we've been talking a lot about this month, and I've challenged my team to do, and I've been wanting to do for a long time, is to share my story, share my Scentsy story, and share my why. We always hear that your why should make you cry, and your why is what will keep you going in your business when things are tough. So I'm going to go back quite a few years to give you a bit of my story before my Scentsy story even really began. In June of 2009, I was a young, new, overwhelmed mom. I had a 1.5-year-old little boy, and a little boy who was about 6 months old. I was so overwhelmed. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I wasn't probably eating properly, and I was just tired and stressed. One weekend, the boys were sick, and we noticed the baby was sicker than usual. A long story short, he was diagnosed in the following weeks with neuroblastoma, which is a rare childhood cancer that at that time we were told affected about 600, or I guess there were 600 new diagnoses across North America each year, so not very many. It was a very treatable cancer, and they caught it early, so our hopes were high that he would beat it. So for the next several months, things got even crazier as we took him back and forth to the Children's Hospital in Toronto, which was about a half hour to an hour drive, depending on the day and the traffic. We, of course, are fortunate to have such a fantastic facility so close to home, but it also meant a lot of time away from our older son, who was a toddler. If I can backtrack just a tiny bit, I had to send my first son to daycare when he was only about 10 months old because I was expecting my second son already. The two were only 15 months apart, and I needed to go back to work for a few months so that I would qualify for our government maternity leave. So that was that. I sent him to daycare. Then, back up to 2009. Our baby was sick. We were taking him to the hospital all the time for chemo and for blood tests and for MRIs and other diagnostic appointments, surgeries. So from June of 2009 until December, he had chemotherapy treatments, and then in January of 2010, he had surgery. So the chemotherapy had shrunk his tumor enough that the doctors felt that it was safe to remove. They removed it, and then the diagnostics they ran in the following months showed that he was free of disease. Now, in May of 2010, he started getting sick again, and he was sick every day. He still had an appetite, but he would be sick almost involuntarily. So after a few more weeks of going back and forth to the hospital and running tests, they determined that his cancer had come back in his brain, which is very rare recurrence for that type of cancer, and that basically that he, even with treatment, would not make it to another year after that point. So he was just 18 months old, I guess, at the time, and we had to make the hard decision to not to pursue further treatment, but to bring him home and enjoy the time that we had left with him. We had missed already a lot of our older son's toddler fun time, and it was too much on the family. So we brought him home, and we had him for about 6 more weeks. And Caden passed in July of 2010. So being a person that had, since teenager, struggled with depression. This was a very, very difficult time. And I had a 2.5-year-old son, fortunately, who I had to get up for every morning. So that helped me. But by a couple of months later, I was ready for another distraction because I was just numb and I didn't want to go anywhere or do anything or see anyone. So I went back to my job. I know that doesn't sound right, but I went back to my job. I went back part-time. I worked in a bank. So I went back as a teller and I worked there 3 days a week. Well, my son was cared for by a good friend of ours. And then the following year is when he started school. So after being back at work, my son had passed in July and I went back to work in September. After being back at work for a couple of months, I was ready for something even more. Now, while my son had been sick, I had connected with a group of moms on a forum put on by a diaper bag company. So they knew about us and about our story, and I connected with them over regular mommy stuff and pretty bags. And I saw Scentsy mentioned often enough and just brushed it off because I had no idea what it was. But one day, somebody had shared a picture of a warmer that I just thought was beautiful. I loved it. It went with my house. It went with my dishes. And it was the Lisbon warmer. I don't know if you know that one, but it was beautiful and I loved it. So I contacted her to find out more about Scentsy. I ended up hosting an online party for her and getting orders from my family and friends, and enough so that I could get the Lisbon warmer, and I got a blue weave nightlight and I think just 3 bars. Anyway, I tried it out and fell in love with the product. She asked me to join her team, but it was obviously not a very good time for us. So I used what I had, and then a few months later, I hosted another online party, and she asked me again to join her team because Scentsy had newly launched in Canada. And again, that was right when we had brought our son home from the hospital for the last time, and I wasn't in the right place personally. But by the end of 2010, I was ready, and I had been thinking about it more, and I was ready to do something for myself. So on January 1st, 2011, I decided that I was going to sign up for Scentsy. I actually had to hunt somebody down to join under because the girl that I had originally bought from was no longer a consultant, but I got in touch with another mom from the same forum and she referred me to a friend of hers, and so I signed up under her. I joined under Penny, who is now an awesome friend of mine. I loved it. I was so excited to share Scentsy with everybody. I had no dreams of it being anything bigger than just a fun distraction, something to kind of just keep my mind off the grief and the numbness that I was still feeling. So I invited everybody I knew to my launch party. I had a very successful launch and I promoted to certified in my first month. I attended Spring Sprint just a few weeks later, and I loved the company and the Scentsy spirit. But again, like I said, I didn't have any big plans for it, so I kind of went along. I did okay in sales. I had a few people join my team, but I didn't take it very seriously. In the fall of 2011, we found out we were expecting a third son, which was really exciting. I had always known that I wanted to have another child, and so we were really happy about that. This gave us a really great opportunity. In 2012, after my son was born, I had the time, somehow, to learn more about my Scentsy business. I had a great training call that I think was one of my biggest aha moments in my whole Scentsy journey, where my friend Christy explained the compensation plan, and something about it just clicked in my mind, and I realized what a gold mine I was sitting on and the endless opportunity that I had available to me. It had never been our intention for me to work full-time out of the home, and my business wasn't growing quite fast enough, so my husband and I had sold our home and moved to a smaller one. So there wasn't a huge sense of urgency. However, I still decided that while I was home on maternity leave, I would start to grow my team and grow my business. So that fall, I worked harder and I got more people to join my team. And that's actually the year that I earned my very first incentive trip. I got to choose to go to Hawaii, which had been a dream of mine ever since I was a little girl and knew what Hawaii was. And it was also really awesome to bring our baby with us on that trip. Yeah, it was just a beautiful, beautiful gift for us. The following year was challenging. I had decided that I wanted to be a director and beyond, but I didn't really know how to do that. I thought I was working hard towards it, and I think I got almost too confident because halfway through November, I decided I would start another business with another direct sales company and be director in two companies, right? Because that makes sense. Anyway, what happened was I got distracted. My efforts and attentions were divided. I missed promoting to director by less than $1,000, basically, and I was devastated. I didn't do anything really with my business for a whole month or two. And my awesome sponsor, Penny, she was really patient with me. She never once made me feel pressured, but she helped me, maybe more than she knows, see that Scentsy was where I belong and where my heart really is. So in January of 2014, I made the decision that Scentsy, I was all in with Scentsy and nobody else. Unfortunately, because I had allowed myself to get distracted, I did not earn the incentive trip that year. I was devastated again. But one evening in February of 2014, I got an email and I literally screamed when I got it. Excuse my dog. It was an email from Heidi and Orville saying that they had extra room at the Atlantis Bahamas incentive trip and inviting me to come along. So this was it just clinched it for me that Scentsy is where I belong and I love this company so much. So of course we went to the Bahamas, and in September of 2014, I finally realized my goal of promoting to director, and I have an awesome, awesome team, and it of course wouldn't have happened without them. The really neat thing about that promotion is it happened earlier than I expected. I had planned to work towards it that fall, but I didn't think it would happen in September. We had just moved to a new house. We had just started into a new school. We were renovating our house. We were on vacation for 10 days in September, but I hustled before I left, and my team really hustled while I was gone, and it ended up happening while we were on vacation at Walt Disney World. And so that is a really big part of my story too, is that I love all things Disney. I grew up on Disney movies, and so my team, of course, is named Faith, Trust, and Purple Pixie Dust. So fast forwarding on a little bit further, I was really happy to be able to attend boot camp at Scentsy Home Office in Idaho in April of 2015. That was an awesome experience because I think I had had the goal of director for so long that I hadn't ever thought beyond that. And that few days really helped me to adjust my thinking and my view for the future and not to worry so much about being able to maintain director status, but to see how I could help others to get there and to always be thinking of growing rather than staying, kind of keeping the status quo. So I started to make bigger goals and have more people join my team, and what's happened since I attended boot camp has been just amazing. From April 2015 to November 2015, my team doubled in size. I promoted 2 frontline directors. That means I promoted to star director. I've earned 2 more incentive trips. My husband and I just attended the leadership cruise in January, and we will be going to Disney World this summer as well. So I think to sum everything up, my point is you don't have to come at your business full force to be successful. You can grow slowly and steadily. But the most important thing is to believe that you can do hard things, and know that I believe in you and that everybody at Scentsy believes in you too. Um, I think when I finally realized that somebody else was cheering me on and believed that I could accomplish what I set out to accomplish was when things started to really happen. I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Oh, yeah, about setting goals as well. I've set goals to do bigger, scarier things. I actually wrote down at Scentsy Family Reunion in the summertime about doubling my front line and my group and the promotion to star director. And because I wrote it down and kind of broadcast it on the internet, I made sure it happened. And another goal of mine this last year was to do public speaking, which Scentsy has also helped me to do, something I never would have dreamed of doing before. But it's really been awesome, really, really awesome. So if you ever are considering joining Scentsy or Volata or anything really, if it's something that you're passionate about, just jump in and try it out, because I believe in you and you should believe in you too. Thanks for listening. So to kind of summarize my why, it circles around my youngest son, Reese, both of my boys, but specifically the youngest. My why is that I don't ever want to have to go back to work. I want to be able to stay home. I was able to enjoy his whole babyhood, his whole toddlerhood, all the good, bad, and the messy and the noisy. But the point is, I missed that with my first two boys. I was back at work before my first son turned a year. My second son got really sick, and so I didn't have that normal, if anyone can have a normal experience, but I didn't have that kind of first year or 2 years or 3 years of babyhood and childhood. But because of Scentsy and being able to stay at home and work kind of on terms that work for our family, I haven't missed anything with my son, and I've been able to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. We've taken trips we never would have taken. And I think almost even better is that I've now been able to help other moms to do the same thing, to realize that they can also have a successful business and earn free trips and earn enough money to make a real difference in their family. So that's my why. And I hope that that maybe touches a chord in your heart or in your life, that maybe that makes sense to you. Maybe that helps you to define your why you run a Scentsy business, or why you might be thinking of starting a Scentsy business. I would love to help you either way. You can find me through my website, thegibsons.scentsy.ca, or on Facebook, Catherine Gibson. And shoot me a friend request, shoot me a message, and I'd be happy to help you out. Thanks again for listening.